Great. Okay. There. No, sorry. Okay. Some people might have missed the first part who was going to watch the recording. I should have started that beforehand. Okay. But anyway, so those are the different qualifications that you can get. That you can do. So there's a lot of different ways that you can get your face credits. There's different qualifications you can do. Yeah, so just make sure that it is a recognized qualification, sort of that it is registered with SAQA and it's got its NQF level. What you don't want to do is do a qualification that's not recognized, by any of the institutions. So it's sort of like a fake qualification if it's not a recognized one. So just make sure always that it's got a SAQA ID. It is SAQA SAQA ID and it's got an NQF level. Okay. So that is obviously the first requirement, is to get your face credit, your face exam. Then we're going over to the next one, which is the regulatory exams. Now, this is where a lot of confusion comes in. The face credits are sort of like, easy to understand. But when we get to the regulatory exams, people often confuse your RE1 with your RE5. Now, I'm sure not all of you knew this. It's also something I only found out recently, but there's actually 4 regulatory exams. So the RE1, now to understand the RE1, this is for financial services providers and for key individuals in all categories, okay? Then a RE3 is for FSPs, financial services providers and key individuals in category 2 and 2A, all right? So an RE3 needs to be written in addition to an RE1. And then the same thing with an RE4. This is for financial services providers and key individuals in category 3, okay? So this also needs to be written in addition to the RE1. So basically, if you're going to do your RE3 or RE4, you need to do your RE1 first. And then the only regulatory exam for representatives is the RE5. Okay, so why this confusion comes in is also, now we're going back to before 2010. Before 2010, an RE5 was actually called the RE1 because there was no RE1 before then. So if you were doing a representative exam, it would have been called an RE1. But then after, I think 2010, it sort of started changing. Then the RE1 started coming into play, and then the RE1 became the RE5. So that's what we'll see. Like a lot of people, I've seen this post on LinkedIn as well, where they post their certificates and ask me, please, can you help me? Do I have an RE1 or an RE5? And I sort of realized where this confusion is coming in. Because if you're looking at the certificates on the site here, you'll see it says first level regulatory examination representative. So that first level there has often also confused candidates because they read first level and they think, well, that's an RE1 because it's the first level, it's 1. And that's not the case. If your certificate is saying a representative here, then you definitely have got the RE5, okay? If it says key individual, and it's for all the categories. So you'll see here, this one listed. So category 1, 2, 2A, 3, and 4. So this is for, if it's for all the categories, then it's an RE1. If it was only for category 2 and 2A, it would have been an RE3. And if it was only on a category 4, it would have been an RE4. Okay, so I hope this clears up a little bit about, the difference between an RE1 and an RE5. So now the question that also comes in, like, who must do an RE1 and who must do an RE5? So for who is that a requirement? So RE5 is for anyone who wants to be a representative in the financial services sector. So what has happened as well, the definition of the representative, again, is someone who is giving advice to the insurer, to a client, okay? Now, what I'll get a lot is people working in claims will be like, okay, I'm working as an administrator. I don't give advice to clients, so I don't need an RE5. But now, again, if you pick up the phone and you're calling a client and advising them on a claim, are you giving them advice? The answer is yes, then you need to do your RE5, okay? So if you're working in insurance and you really never, ever deal with the clients or give them any advice, then I would say, you don't need to do your RE5. But if you at any point are dealing with the clients to keep yourself safe and the company safe, because you're registered with the Financial Services Board, you need to have your qualifications done. So an RE1, again, that is for your key individuals, for your financial services providers. These are for people, you can obviously start your own brokerage if you've got an RE1 because you are a key individual. I would say a lot of the times, like my most senior roles, I'm looking for RE1. So if I'm looking for, a senior claims administrator, like senior level, or like a claims manager, underwriting manager, if I'm looking for these higher end roles, then I'm looking to see, do they have an RE1? Not that it's necessarily a requirement, but I know that my clients prefer it if they're hiring that level candidate, that they've got the RE1. Because I hope this clears things out. We're not going to go in depth about the RE3 and the RE4, because even in my experience, I've never actually come across anyone who has done those qualifications. But it is obviously specific to the insurance categories. Now, I mentioned the category, if it's a category, there's like different categories. And I've put this link on here. So obviously this is also recorded. So if you need to go get the link again, you can log onto our YouTube channel, obviously watch this session again. Or if you just, you want to send me an email, I can email the link to you as well. This is a nice site that I use actually for quite a lot of things. So if you open that link, this is where it will go, and it's going to give you a whole list of the different categories in insurance. Okay, well, financial services specifically. So there you can see category 1 has got your short-term insurance, personal lines. A lot of these categories will all, these things will fall under different categories as well. So if you're looking at like your long-term insurance subcategory A, it's basically that is present in category 1, category 2, as well as category 3, and even category 2A. All right. So if you're unsure of where you fall into, you can always follow this link and go see what category do you fall into. Sorry, is there a question? No. Okay. Great stuff. If there is a question, you can just pop it in the chat. If you don't want to forget about it, then at the end of the session, we can also go through all of the questions that there is. So I hope this is clearing out a little bit of the things of, who needs what qualifications in insurance, like who needs to do an RE1, who needs to do an RE5. If you follow that insurance category thing, and whether you're a key individual or a representative, you will know which one of these you need to do. Right. So now we're going over to the class of business. And I always get a little bit of a giggle when I think of a class of business, because I have had some funny responses from candidates when I ask them what class of business they've done. So a lot of the people think that there's 7 classes of businesses. In actual fact, there is 9 classes of businesses, and I've listed them all here for you. So you got your short-term personal lines, there's the short-term commercial lines, long-term insurance, investments, forex investments, pension funds. There's short and long-term deposits, structured deposits, and health services benefits. So now the question again comes in, who needs to do what class of business? Okay, so this is quite simple. Okay, if you are working in short-term personal lines, you need to do the short-term personal lines. If you're working in investments, then you got to do the investments class of business, right? So this sort of also only became a requirement in 2018. Okay, so to give you an idea, right, if you started, I'm going to actually stop sharing here for a moment. So let's say you started started working in insurance before 2018, okay? So let's say 2016, 2017, you've already been working in insurance and you've been working without supervision, okay? So basically you've been declared fit and proper before 2018 to work in short-term personal lines. Then you don't need to do the short-term personal lines class of business, because before 2018, you were declared fit to work that position without supervision. If you had to do it with supervision, then obviously you need to do your class of business. Okay. If you started working after 2018, all right, then you need to do whatever section you work in, department in the insurance you work in, you need to do the class of business, right? Then let's say, for example, you worked before 2018, you were declared fit and proper to work in personal lines, short-term insurance. Now, after 2018, you decided, okay, now I'm going to branch off. I'm going to go into commercial lines. Then you need to do, if that was after 2018, then you got to do the class of business. Is that clear to everyone? There's these little reactions or so. Maybe if you can like send me a reaction, like a little sharp or so, if it's clear. If not, just let me know so I can explain it a little bit better. I know this is a complicated thing. So I see I've got a question here. If a class of business is completed, should you list the completed ones on your CV? Yes, absolutely. You have to list that on your CV. You got to tell me which class of business you did, through which institution you did it, and also importantly, what year you did the class of business. Okay, so you have to list that on your CV. Alrighty. Now I'm going to share my screen again with you. All right, so obviously the short-term personal lines is going to be all about the short-term. So personal lines, I'm sure you all will know by now that personal lines is for an individual, okay? Commercial lines is for a business. Short-term, the best way for me to explain it is things that you can touch and feel, okay? So short-term is if you, like personal lines would be your household, your vehicle insurance. Short-term commercial lines would probably be like their building, their equipment, those kind of things. Then there's long-term insurance, there's investments. Long-term insurance obviously is like your life insurance. Investments, there's your offshore investments, there's forex investments. So I don't want to get into much detail about the other class of businesses. They're not really that popular, but if you've got a question about it, you can let me know. So the deposits one, the short and long-term deposits, structured deposits, those are mostly for like your financial advisors, your paraplanners, and your business owners. Okay. So I just saw another question there in the chat group about the new vendor coordinator. I will, if you want to, you can just send me an email about that one because it actually doesn't have anything to do with insurance. So, okay. So moving on from class of business, I hope everyone understands now what class of businesses they need to do. This has become a requirement after 2018. So please pay close attention to it. I think through Moonstone, they've got class of businesses for 619 Rand, which is quite nice. Then we go over to the CPD hours. So the CPD hours, that stands for continuous professional development, okay? And that can be categorized, normally they touch on like 4 categories. So one category is regulatory, then the other one is ethics, there's technical, and then there's also the skills and abilities. All right, so the regulatory, that is more about your knowledge and understanding about the applicable laws in the financial sector. Obviously, the ethics is about the ethical standards. Technical is also your generic knowledge and understanding of the environment and of these financial products. And then the skills and the abilities is all about the best practice in terms of practice management. So now again, the question comes in, who needs to do these CPD hours? So the CPD hours, that is again, we're going to go back. So if you've, it also depends on the different class of businesses you're working in. Okay, so if let's say you work in one class of business, all right, so you just work in personal lines insurance, short-term personal lines, okay, then you just need to do at least 12 hours in a cycle. If you're working in more than one class of business, so let's say you work in personal lines and commercial lines, maybe you even do a little bit of long-term insurance or investments, then you've got to do a minimum of 18 hours. Okay, so there's normally a cycle that these CPD hours are running, and that is from the 1st of June until the 31st of March, or 31st of May every year. Now you need to make sure that, so if you're working in that one class of business, then you've got to do your 12 hours. If you're working in more than one class of business, you've got to do your 18 hours of CPD. Okay, this again is an obligation, it's a requirement for you to be fit, to be classified as fit and proper in insurance. Okay, then I also want to bring in the DOFA, because everything when it comes to the what qualifications you need goes back to your date of first appointment. All right, so like I said, these rules and things have changed over the years, so many times. I mean, before 2010, there was no RE1. Now suddenly there's an RE1 you need to do. Before 2018, there were no class of businesses. No one knew what a class of business was. So these kind of things always changes. So that's why your date of first appointment is so important. So if you started with, before 2018 and you're currently working without supervision, I'm assuming you already declared fit, because else you would have been working still under supervision. All right. So if you are entering the market now, okay, so you are fresh, let's say you started after 2018, I think the official date was, I think, February 2019, if I'm not mistaken, when this rule came into play. So if you started, then they're giving you 2 years, okay, to do your regulatory exams, to do your CPD hours, to get your class of business done, to get your phase credits done. You're getting 2 years to get that done. So previously they were giving candidates 6 years to get this all the regulations done and to be compliant, but now you only get 2 years. So the nice thing is, a lot of these companies will pay for your qualifications. If they don't, maybe it's a smaller brokerage, but generally most of the companies will pay for your class of business and the things that you need in order to become compliant. And the only catch is that you got to do it within 2 years. So yeah, and then it's going to be tough because you're going to be working. We all know the RE exams are not easy. You got to do another NQF qualification that's relevant to insurance to get your phase credits. You also then need to still do your class of business, and some are working all those CPD hours that you need to do. So it's not easy, but it's definitely worth it, because the insurance industry is such a lucrative industry. And I'm telling you now, I've been working this, and I've been telling my colleagues that I have got so many vacancies that it is actually overwhelming. And the amount of quality candidates that I've got compared to the amount of vacancies, it's not the same. A lot of people are scared of the insurance industry, but you shouldn't be scared, because it is really, really lucrative. Just going to have a look here. I see there's some more questions here. If you've got a qualification in long-term insurance, you want to move over to short-term, do you still have to do the qualification in short-term? Yes, correct. So if you were working in long-term insurance, you're now going to go over to short-term insurance, you have to get your class of business done in short-term insurance. Not necessarily the qualification, because if you got your phase credits when you did your long-term insurance, that phase credits will also still be applicable even if you move over to short-term insurance. But the one that you definitely need to do is the class of business. And they ask you, do you only do CPG if you only got your RE? Yeah, well, basically, yes, because the CPD hours is what's going to help you become compliant. Okay, so if you don't even have your RE, it means you can't work without supervision. So then doing your CPD hours is sort of like pointless. But in saying that, it is also not pointless, okay? Because even though it's not going to make you be compliant now, what I'm seeing as a recruiter, like, oh, this person is actually working under supervision, but they still did their CPD hours. I'm seeing someone dedicated. I see someone that's going the extra mile. So even if you're not required to do it, I want to urge you to do it. And the reason why I'm saying this is, I've said this at one of my webinars before as well, is companies will shop for candidates the way we do our grocery shopping. So if you imagine now you're going to ShopRite and you want to buy a chicken, and now you go to Woolies and they also got a chicken there. So now you can get the Woolies chicken, okay, for the same price as the ShopRite chicken. Are you going to buy the ShopRite chicken, or are you going to buy the Woolies chicken? Of course, you're going to buy the Woolies chicken, okay? It's about better quality. Now, that's the same thing that companies are doing, all right? They've got a budget for salaries, and they want the best they can get for that salary. So they're not going to settle for the ShopRite candidate if they can get the Woolies candidate at the same price, all right? So basically, what I want to say is you got to be like a Woolies chicken. You got to be the better quality, the better candidate. So you're always going to compete against other candidates in the market. So how do you make yourself stand out from the rest of the candidates? You do that by showing them how you went the extra mile. That I did my class of businesses even though it wasn't required from me. I do my CPG hours every year, even though it's not required from me. And that is how you show that you are dedicated, you're going the extra mile, and it will put you ahead of other candidates, because I promise you as recruiters, we make note of this sort of things. So I'm going to just share the screen again. Let's go back. Okay, so okay, I hope this obviously covers everything what you guys were wondering about qualifications. I know the first section obviously is very much information overload because we're touching on a lot of things. And I think if we just go back a little bit to where we first started, you know, the things that you need to be considered as fit and proper is your phase credits. Okay, so make sure you get your phase credits done. If you by now haven't gotten any credits, you know, you probably started, you know, you'll probably need to do the full qualification, which means you missed the slot from 2010 where you could just do the modules. You now need to do a full qualification. Okay, then make sure you do the right regulatory exams. If you haven't done an RE5 yet, I'm not sure what you're doing because you need to get your RE5 done. Very important. Class of businesses, make sure that the sector you work in, you've done the class of business for that sector. And if you want to move into another sector, do that class of business. Make sure you're updated with your CPD hours and do your DOFA check. Actually, one I want to show you, there's this cool link that you can follow. I think I've put it down here as well. This link here is a cool link that you can follow that will take you to a site, and I'm going to show it to you as well, where you can actually check your DOFA dates if you're unsure about it. And you know what's nice is when you send your CV through to a recruiter, be like, yeah, hey, yeah, see, attach my DOFA check, my DOFA dates. I'm so impressed when I get a candidate and they attach their DOFA date check for me. I'm like, oh, this is great. I love it. All right. So just another add on. I'm always impressed when I get that, and you can literally do it on your own. I'm going to show you now. If you open, that one. Yes, okay, so if you click on that link, this is where it will take you. So you see here, it says you can use your ID to find your date of first appointment. So I want you to just go click on this Phase E portal, and then you'll obviously need to register if you haven't been registered yet, and just follow the prompts to get registered. So yeah, you can follow that link here to get your DOFA date. Okay, so now going over to the experience in financial services, and I think this is a very interesting topic as well. I've sort of like classified the financial services into these 4 groups, where you get your insurers, you get your brokerages, then you get the investment firms, and you also get the banking sector. All right. So insurers, yeah, we know that this is insurers. I always struggle with my Afrikaans. I want to go insurers. So in the insurers, this is obviously your companies that is insuring, you know, the clients or whatever, the policy is with, like your Hollard, your Old Mutual, your Discovery, they are the insurer, okay? Then the brokerages these are companies that sort of acting on behalf of a lot of insurers. Okay, so they would, you know, sell policies of Hollard and Old Mutual and Santam. I mean, I've seen some big brokerages that's got so many insurers they deal with. It is absolutely crazy. Then we know we've got the investment firms, and we've got the banking sector as well. So banking, we know that's your Absa's, your Capitec, your net banks. Right. Now, what I've found a lot in my time here is I get a lot of people from insurers who wants to try gain experience and wants to branch into a brokerage. Okay, so how do you do that? So there's sort of this thing where brokerages don't like to hire candidates from insurers. Now, the only reason that is there is because, you know, if you've only got experience working for an insurer, you've got experience with one policy, you know, one insurer. You know, basically, let's say you work for Hollard, you know everything about Hollard. So let's say you now want to go to a brokerage. Now they're not just dealing with Hollard, but they're dealing with Hollard and Santam and Discovery and, you know, blah blah blah. But so what I recommend you do, the easiest way to make that shift is to sort of go like, okay, what is the main insurer we deal with? Okay, so my biggest experience that I've gained, let's say, okay, I've got Hollard. Okay, I'm working for Hollard. And so now I'm going to go and I'm going to research brokerages that mainly deals, his biggest part of their business is Hollard. And then I'm going to go to those companies and be like, okay, I would love the experience in a brokerage. I'm keen on a challenge. I want a more fast-paced environment, and I've got experience in working with Hollard policies. I see that is the main insurer that you also deal with, and I come with extensive experience in this with this insurer. I'm also a very fast learner. I pick up quickly, so I will easily learn the other insurers as well. So, because that is normally the biggest block for people working in with insurers who wants to go into a brokerage. And then vice versa again. So normally people that worked in a brokerage wouldn't struggle to find a job with insurers if they wanted to. But then again, I would say, like, if you're working for a brokerage, take the insurer that you mostly deal with and go, if you want to go work for an insurer, try and get in with that insurer. Because the thing is, people are looking for experience. And also, an insurer isn't going to hire someone from a brokerage if they've never dealt with them, with that insurer before. So someone from Hollard isn't going to take someone from a brokerage who was mainly dealing with discovery and the maintenance. I mean, if they're looking for people with Hollard experience. So that would be the first step. So make sure you move into one with a relevant same product that you are selling. Okay. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. I've actually also done this little thing here. I also see here, does DOFA only apply to sales agents, or is it for admin as well? Another question that just came up here. So DOFA, the dates of first appointment, that is for anyone who wants to work under without supervision, all right? So not just salespeople, I'm talking about your underwriters, I'm talking about your claims administrators, anyone dealing with a client, okay? So a lot of the time, underwriting is considered administration, but you also sometimes deal a little bit with the client. And so that's when the DOFA comes into play. So if you want to be fully compliant, if you want to be fit and proper, your DOFA will be in play. So insurers and brokerages. Okay, so I've sort of broken this down in a little table here. So with insurers, you get short-term insurance, you obviously get your long-term insurance. Then you get your personal lines and you get your commercial lines. Now, as explained before, if your experience is mainly in this circle here, short-term insurance, personal lines, and you want to move into this one, commercial lines and short-term insurance, then what you need to do is you need to go do your class of business in commercial lines, okay? So start getting the qualifications done, in terms of the fit and proper requirements. Start getting those things done. Then once you got your qualifications in the commercial lines, then you need to start getting some experience. Right now, how are you going to get experience if most of your experience is with personal lines and no one wants to give you a job in commercial lines because you've got no commercial lines experience? Right? It sounds like a catch-22. So I always say is, this is where you got to go the extra mile. Okay, this is where you at your own time need to get the commercial lines experience. So go to your manager and tell them, you know what, I would love to start gaining experience in commercial lines, but I understand the business's needs. You need me in personal lines at the moment. So what I will do is I would like to take, maybe 1 hour of my day and sit with whoever working in commercial lines and, just shadow them, watch what they're doing, learn from how they do the commercial lines. Then in return, I will maybe work and I'll come in an hour earlier, or I will, maybe give up my lunch break, or I'll work an hour later to make up for the time that I've lost, doing personal lines work for you. That is sometimes the sort of extent you need to go to start getting the experience. Because like I said, the way that the companies shop for candidates, no one's going to hire someone for a commercial lines role with only personal lines experience, because I guarantee you, they can find someone with commercial lines experience. Is there a question? No. All right. So I'm hoping that will, sort of give you guys an idea on how you can go about. To give you an idea, 90% of my jobs I've got at the moment is in the short-term insurance commercial lines block. Okay, there's such a big need for commercial lines insurance professionals in the short-term sector. So just a little heads up there, big one. And the salaries are, while generally in commercial lines are also generally much better than the personal lines one. Also, when it comes to the salaries, let's say you've been working in personal lines now for like 10 years, you are getting paid 35,000 Rand per month as an underwriter, and you want to now start going into commercial lines. So what I would recommend is trying to get a hybrid position where, you work in personal and commercial lines. You can't get a hybrid position and you need to start from scratch, sort of like as an entry-level commercial lines, you might have to take a salary cut. But now, if you think about it, you've already, done the qualifications, you already shadowed people, you've gotten some experience, so you sort of know how to do the job. So what I would do is I would go to the HR person or the recruiter and I'd be like, you know what, I know my salary currently is 35,000 Rand per month, but I know that my years of experience in commercial lines, is very limited. I only have a couple of months or 1 year of shadowing experience, but I'm confident in my abilities. I know that I'm capable of doing this role. So I'm happy if you give me, let's say, 25,000 Rand per month for the next 3 months. After 3 months, if you're happy with my skill set and my services, then we can review it. Right. But then again, this is like you investing in yourself, right? Saying, okay, I'll take a salary cut for 3 months because I know I am good enough to, after 3 months, get that salary review. And if you can't invest in yourself, you can't expect the company to invest in you, just saying. Now, going over to barriers and to interviews. So how many of you feel that, you've got the experience, you've got the qualifications, you got everything you need, you apply everywhere, but you're just not getting that, you're just not getting it? Is there, how many of you are there that feels that way? You can just like share some emotions if you want to. Now, I've seen this a lot of the times on LinkedIn. A lot of people post this and I sometimes feel sorry for the candidates because no one's telling them why this is happening. So I just want to touch on some of the barriers that will prevent you from getting to an interview. And the first thing that, we need to look at, obviously, is your CV, okay? So what does your CV communicate? Let's see. Well, how's your format? Okay, there's these nice templates you can get online. I mean, they are for free, but then what a lot of the times, if you're working on these online websites using the free templates, they don't have a spelling check. Okay, so then there's a lot of spelling mistakes. So what I recommend is putting the text into Word, running a spelling and grammar check, and then copy and pasting that text into the online format just to make sure that you're free from spelling mistakes. I've once held back sending a CV to a client because of the amount of spelling errors I saw on a candidate's CV. Just I can do another 1 hour webinar on how CV should look. So if you want to get more tips on how our CV should look, you can always go onto our website. We've got lots of videos there that's giving CV tips, and just have a look there. Also, just some small things that we always look at on CVs as well is we look at the duration you've been at different companies. Okay, so if we generally look at the past 5 years. But because of COVID, riots, floodings, there's been a lot of disruption and a lot of candidates' work history that is not to their fault, anyway. So then we would look like prior to 2020, before COVID started, then we look at the work history there. Do you have a stable work history? If you every year started at a new company, that's going to be a barrier, for you to get an interview, because that's the first thing that the recruiters are going to look at. And so if you have moved around quite a lot, and let's say this is not your fault, like, life has just given you knocks left, right, and center, and you just, trying to survive, you were retrenched there, then that company, you started a new job, then that company closed down, then a few months after that, you decided to relocate, your husband was relocating somewhere, so then you had to find a new job again, right? So sometimes you've got really valid reasons, but then it is not stated on your CV. So how are we supposed to know that you've got valid reasons for moving between jobs? So on your CV, with every job, state there the reason why you left, and be a little bit specific. Don't just be like retrenched. You say why you were retrenched. The company lost a contract, they couldn't afford it, they had to close down a whole department, that's why I got retrenched. So just put the reasons, in why you left, because that can always be a barrier. Some recruiters won't even call you for an interview just based on based on that. And then other things you should list is, things like your achievements, your awards, all your certifications, all the trainings you've done. List all of that. It helps to show your character. If I see someone, who played first team rugby, I'm not thinking, oh, this person is listing an irrelevant achievement. I'm seeing someone who had to work hard in order to achieve that. I'm seeing someone that was goal orientated. If that person had a goal and they achieved it, even though that is not relevant to what they're doing at the moment, it shows the character. So that is also one important thing that your CV must bring forward is your character. Then another thing that's preventing people from getting to interviews is social media. Yes, it's true. We stalk you on social media. Surprise, surprise. So what is your social media saying about you? Okay. Is it showing tequila every weekend, or is it showing, professional development? So just go look at what your social media is showing about you. Another thing what you can do is go stalk other candidates. You all know very successful people in the industry. Go have a look at their LinkedIn and their Facebook. How do they present themselves? Why do they keep getting the jobs? Why do they keep getting the promotions? Maybe it's because of the way they also present themselves. The type of articles they share. So just go have a look at what your social media is saying about you. Then the second one that we're going to touch on is the application process. Okay, so this is again is an important thing. I know when you get desperate, you're going through PNet, you're going through LinkedIn, you sort of just mass mailing all the recruiters. You're just trying to get your CV out there, as fast as possible to as many people as possible. But that often doesn't yield results, because I sometimes get a CV and then there's no subject line. There's nothing at the body of the email. It's literally just an email with an attached CV. I didn't even open that CV, okay? Because I feel that the person could have put in a little bit more effort. Look at who you're sending it to. And don't just send out a mass mail. Like, I can see all the other recruiters from other companies who are CC'd in the mail. So make it specific to the role that you're applying for. Don't just go on PNet and go apply, because then when your recruiter is calling you and be like, okay, you applied on PNet for a position with Pro Talent, it was for, and then then you're like, oh, I don't know which one it is. Well, what was it again? I applied to many. I don't know which one I applied for. So make sure you're organized. You always remember what positions you applied for, and don't just apply for anything, okay? Because what you can do is you can create a negativity within yourself, because now you've sent out thousands of applications and you're almost getting no responses back. So now you're starting to lose your confidence in yourself, like there's something wrong with you. Why are you getting so many rejections? Why are you not getting any feedback? And most of the time it's also because you were just applying. You didn't take the time to read through the requirements. Do you actually meet the requirements? So instead of just applying for everything, just look specifically and make sure that it is a job that you want. One thing that I also see is I would find one candidate applying for 10 different jobs that are listed on our website. The same candidate applying for 10. Now I understand that you are desperate and you would take anything. But now I'm also seeing someone who's not looking at their passion in something what they want to do. So I'm seeing someone who's going to maybe work for a year or two because they're really desperate, and then they're going to jump ship to something that they actually really wanted to do. So be careful to not just apply for everything. And then your activity on PNet and LinkedIn as well. So this is a little tip. The more active you are on LinkedIn and PNet, the better your chances of appearing in search engines. So as recruiters, we search on LinkedIn, we search on PNet for candidates, we're using keywords to try and find you. So the more active you are, these sites use algorithms actually. And the more active you are with these algorithms, the better your chances are of appearing in these search results. So just, go comment every day, post every day, make sure that you're active. And then obviously your attitude during the screening calls. Sometimes I'm calling someone about a job and then they just, they're not even excited at all. It sounds like they're still asleep. And then that is your first interaction with the recruiter. It's like, that is, if you are not on top of your game with that screening call, that could possibly where it ends. You might not get invited for anything further. So make sure that when you're answering, and I know I get this, we get frustrated by all of the amount of spam calls we're getting and the telesales people. But if someone is answering the phone and they think I'm a telesales person and they are rude to me from the get-go because they think I'm telesales, I also see a reflection of their character, because I see how they how they treat telesales people. And I mean, working in insurance, a lot of you actually have got experience in working in telesales, and you know what a tough and hard job that is. And I feel like you guys should be respected a lot more. I tried to do telesales for 5 weeks, I think, a couple of years ago, and it was one of the worst times of my life. I mean, you get swear at all the time. So I really have so much respect for anyone that has ever worked in telesales before. So those are things that speak to your character, and that could potentially be a barrier from you to getting your next job. Right. So I'm hoping these little tips is going to help you to get that interview. And then when you get that interview, now you really need to start nailing it. Okay. So the first thing you need to do is you need to know yourself. All right. You need to know what your weaknesses are. You need to know what your strengths are. We all know those are questions that everyone asks in the interview. What is your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Tell me a little bit about yourself. Okay. So go think about those 3 questions and just already know what you're going to say. And when people ask you for your weakness, and I get this all the time, I actually want to roll my eyes when someone tells me this. My biggest weakness is I'm unable to say no. All right, everyone is saying that because it's the one weakness where it actually sounds like a positive thing. Like, I'm hardworking, I'm always helpful, I never say no, I'll always help. So just know yourself a little bit more, more in depth, to show that you actually do personal development. If someone doesn't know what their weaknesses is, what I'm seeing on the other side of the interview is someone who never did personal development. Because every day I do personal development and I ask myself 3 questions. The one question is, what did I do great today? So now I know what my strengths are. Then I ask myself, what did I do not so great today? Now I know what my weaknesses are. And then I ask myself, what must I focus on tomorrow? So that would normally be my weakness of the previous day. So I need to focus a little bit more on this in order to improve myself. So if you don't know what the great answers to those questions, you probably have not done enough personal development. Then secondly, your attitude and your presentation. So guys, we're working in insurance. Professionalism and presentation is everything. It is a corporate environment through and through. I mean, literally, this is Suits vibes. Okay, you've watched like that lawyer series Suits. This is where we're at. Now, some of you might work at smaller brokerages where it's not so such a requirement, but if you want to get your foot into the door with the bigger companies where you can grow ultimately in, presentation is key. Attitude is key. Okay, I've had people getting jobs not having the experience, but because they had the best attitude. I once placed a 62-year-old woman. She got 2 counter offers. Everyone laughed at me because they said she was too old. I'm never going to find her something. And when I interviewed her, she was so lovely. She was so positive. She was so relatable. And you know what? She took that same attitude to the interviews with the companies, and they absolutely loved her. So your attitude is also one of the most important things. And I know it can be difficult because you've gone for so many interviews already. You've tried so hard, you sort of like lost faith. You're nervous so much, but just try and bring that positivity through. Laugh as much as you can because it breaks the tension in the room. Then the second thing is interview questions. Third thing is interview questions. Okay. Now I have actually, there's a bunch of questions I always ask in insurance, and I expect of an insurance candidate to be able to answer these questions. If you can't answer these questions, that's when I am looking into you like, do you know what you're doing? All right. So in insurance, you need to know, what experience do you have in personal lines, okay, and short-term insurance? Because I'm going to ask you, can you please explain to me your short-term personal lines experience? Then I need you to go, yes, actually, Marizaan, I have spent 6 months working with short-term insurance in the claims division. It was actually policies for Hollard, whoever the insurer was. And these were the kind of duties I do. When it comes to the commercial, actually there I've got 5 years of experience in commercial lines. I was working with X and X and X insurers. And so, sort of that is the kind of responses I want. I want you to know exactly, sort of in this classification. Let me go back. Oh, there we go. sort of in these classifications, I want you to tell me how much long-term insurance in personal lines do you have? How much long-term insurance in commercial lines do you have? And what is it? Which insurers did you work for? So just know your thing, okay? If I ask you about close of businesses, you need to be like, you need to know what it is. You need to know exactly which ones you did. I once had a candidate when I asked him what class of business did you do? And the candidate goes, I did the Santam one, I did the Old Mutual one. And so immediately I made a note, does not know what a class of business is, because what he was referring to was the product specific training. Now that is compulsory, okay? So companies are supposed to give you product specific training before you start. You can't start working until you got in the product specific training. So that is what he was referring to. What I was asking about was the class of business. So make sure that you are familiar. They're going to ask you what systems you've worked on, okay? Have you worked on Integrity? Do you know QuickSure, Xplan? Also, you know, when you work with insurers, what kind of their portals have you worked on? Because let's say you might have worked for a brokerage, you know, that worked with that did a lot of work on Xplan. Now you want to move to another company and they also use Xplan. So by putting on your CV and things that this is, I've got experience in Xplan, this is the systems I've worked on, whether it was designed for that company, whether it's an in-house insurer system or like a general, like an Integrity or a QuickSure or like a Cardinal program that you've worked on, then obviously also listed on your CV as well, because it will make, you know, recruiters' life easier. So I've got a lot of it at times I get a requirement from a company and they would tell me this candidate must have Integrity experience. So now I will go on to PNet, I'll go on to LinkedIn, and one of the keywords that I use when I'm trying to find my candidate is Integrity, because I'm looking for people with experience on the Integrity system. And if you didn't list Integrity on your CV, you will not pop up on my search, okay? So you will be missed. So make sure that you list, you know, all the things that you must on your CV. Okay, then we're going over to chemistry. Now, once again, very important. I remember when I just started one of my first visits with a client in the Kloof area, he looked at me and he said, you know what, Marizaan, you can give me the best candidate on paper. You can give me someone with the best qualifications, best experience, but if I do not have a connection, a chemistry with them, I will not hire them. So this is also very important. You know, a lot of the times when you don't really get any constructive feedback from a company and they're just like, you know, not a good fit or something like that. That is sometimes a lot of time because you were unable to form a connection with the person that was interviewing you. So when you're in that interview, just try to relax and try to connect with the person that's interviewing you, because the chemistry is the most important thing. This is where they assess whether you will fit in with the company culture, whether you will be able to, you know, work with the members in the team. And if you can get the person interviewing you to get a personal liking in you, you've got a much better chance in getting the job, even over candidates that's got the right experience and qualifications. And then, yeah, okay, I said again, attitude during screening calls. I think that was just a accident, copy and paste there. Right. So those are the biggest thing with the interview tips. Just you obviously, you know your story. That is the biggest thing. You need to know your story. You need to understand the insurance industry. You need to know where you get how you get your phase credits. Sometimes someone will tell me, yes, I'm phase compliant. Then I'll ask them, okay, so how did you get your phase compliance? Then they don't know how to answer that. So how do you get your phase compliance? Oh, I got my phase compliance by doing an NQA5 in short-term insurance. Okay, you got to make sure you got your dates right. If I ask you what year did you do your RE5, I want you to be able to tell me, okay, I did my RE5 in 2012, it was through Moonstone, right? If I ask you about your achievements, I need you to tell me like, oh, you know, I've achieved this and this in my life. Actually, there I was employee of the month. There I was recognized for outstanding service, you know, whatever the case may be. So just know yourself and know your story. Right. And this, yeah, this brings me to the end. And I'm saying thank you to everyone that attended. And we're going to go over to the Q&A now. So if there is any questions that you've got. Let's see, is there any questions? It doesn't seem so. It seems like I might have covered everything. Obviously, if there is anything that's unsure, please send me an email. I'm always willing to assist and willing to help and to give you some advice to help take you to the next level. Like I said, we are currently also looking for a lot of commercial short-term candidates. So if you fit the profile, just pop me a message. And then obviously if you are struggling too much, you're more than welcome to arrange a confidential session with me to be like, Marizaan, I need a little bit more in-depth experience. I need you to look at my profile. I need you to tell me what I'm doing wrong. And I will give you some constructive feedback, obviously, to help you take your career to the next level. Okay, so now we're going to get to the prize giving. It's also very exciting. We're going to spin the wheel. So I'm going to spin the wheel, and then if it's you, I need you to unmute yourself and tell me that I'm here, because if you don't do that, I'm going to think you're not on the session anymore, and we're going to spin the wheel again, because obviously someone still on the session now will win the prize. Okay, here we go. Sharing the screen. And I need to go there. All right. Trishanta Singh. Trishanta Singh on here. Let's go look at the participants. You need to claim your prize. Okay, no Trishanta Singh. All right, we're going to do this again. Let's see. So you can see there was a lot of registrations, but not everyone attended. Is Celine Govender? Going one.
Hi. Hi, I'm here.
Okay, Celine Govender, well done. You're the winner of the hamper. What I will do, I think I've got your email, so we'll take a screenshot of this and I will have the prize printed. Well done.
Oh, hey, thank you. I didn't even expect this.
And there's a little surprise. Okay. Is there any other questions that anyone has? All right, so the session obviously is also recorded. I'm going to, we missed the first part of it a little bit because I started recording late, but I'm still going to upload it onto our YouTube channel for you all to have a look at and just go through it again, to get those links, write them down if you need to. And then you can also share that obviously with some of your colleagues and friends who's in the insurance industry will benefit from the session. Right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.